So hi everyone, I'm Sam, co-founder of Dagger, and today I will show you how to do some machine learning ops with Hugging Face and Dagger. The idea of this demo was to explore all the benefits of Dagger in the context of an AI application that is backed by a model. So all of the code that I will show you today is public already. It's currently on my repo, but probably we'll move it to the Dagger org at some point. The app is very simple. I will actually show it to you quickly. But the pipelines are actually designed to be reused in another AI app, and they will evolve over time. So the README actually explains what it does. So there are 3 pipelines that I will show you, and also some future plans for making it better. So let me show you first the application itself. So it's a very simple, very simple app. And I basically picked a model that is very popular on the Hugging Face hub. So if you're not familiar with Hugging Face, you can imagine it as the GitHub of ML models. So you can find a lot of models that are already pre-trained. You can find data sets in case you want to train some existing models with either an existing data set or a new one. And Hugging Face provides also a library to interact with those models. So using those libraries, I built this small app. And what it does, it's basically summarizing a large amount of text into a summary. So here I will pick an article that I got on CNN that is talking about the climate and hurricanes coming this year. And let's say I don't have time to read this article, and so I will just paste it in my app, and it will basically give me a very small summary of the most relevant information that the model found in the text. So now let's dig into the actual code. So first of all, that's the code of my app. It's very simple. I will actually deploy the whole thing, and I will start from a blank state without any cache. So it will take some time. So while it's deploying, I will actually explain to you what's going on underneath. I will also run the Dagger Cloud view because I actually enabled Dagger Cloud on my setup, but we'll show you that right after. So first of all, so as I said, this is the code of the app that you see here on the left. Here I see the model that I'm using the pipeline and the transformers library from Hugging Face. It's all in Python. And I have a very simple interface in few lines of code that gives me the prompt with the input and the output. And obviously this app is very simple for the purpose of the demo, but you can imagine that being a more complex front end. And the app itself is using the model. And so what is very interesting here is that despite this app is few lines of code, there is actually a lot of things going on in this transformers library. In particular, let's jump into the test pipeline. So that's one of the 3 pipelines Dagger pipelines that I wrote. And this one is very interesting because it actually runs tests on the model itself, not the app, but the model. And the model actually comes with a large data set. So every time you use a model from Hugging Face, it seems very fast, very simple. But actually what's happening underneath, let me show you, for instance, a very simple example. That's the model that I'm using. And I see that it's coming with over a gig of data. So it's very simple model on one side, but I still rely on the 1 gig of data just for that simple app. So it's very important here to use one of the things that you can do with Dagger, which is using the cache. And so I created a cache volume for Python, for the Python assets. So here it's populating the cache also underneath while I'm talking. So that's the pipeline. The pipeline is actually running on the right of the screen. And here I'm basically configuring mounting the cache in the container, the Python container that I'm using for running the test of the models. And so next time it will run on my CI. Every time I don't have to rebuild the whole data set. It will be taken from the cache. Here I basically install the requirements for the test, and I run PyTest. So that's basically the pipeline for running those tests. Now let's look at the actual code of the test itself, so the one that runs inside the Dagger pipeline. And what I see here is that it's basically a test, by the way, that I took from, I ported from Hugging Face tests, so do self-tests that they are running on the platform. And so this one, so there are two tests. The first one basically takes a large chunk of text, will summarize it through the model and make sure that it asserts the result, make sure that it gives the same amount of data. So models can be deterministic, well, especially this one is, but even for a generative model like GPT 3 or 4, you can actually tune them to make them deterministic and write tests to make sure they behave the same way in particular environments. So in that case, I wanted to try to test that the model behaves exactly the same way in Python 3.10 and 3.11. So that's what the pipeline is doing. And I wrote another test which evaluates the performance of the model. So in that case, I'm using something used in natural language processing called Rouge. So this one is an algorithm that basically can compute the precision of the model. So you give it the two chunks of text, so the input and the output, and the algorithm is able to tell you the amount of precision the model has. And so here I basically assert the precision as being over 70% and make sure that it will give me the same actually every time. It's not, I expect the model to behave the same way in both versions of Python, but let's say that over time, there is a new data set that is coming in from Hugging Face, so the cache will be automatically updated. I want to make sure the precision will not go down, so that it's still relevant to my app. Actually, before showing you the rest, I will show you also the other two pipelines. So there is a lint. So lint is very simple. It will install the Python linter, Flake 8, and run the lint on the code of my app. So again, the code of my app is this one, very simple. I showed you the test pipeline, and the last one is the deploy that actually finished running on the side. And the deploy will pretty much just take the result of the content of the app, the code, and deploy it to a Hugging Face space. What's a Hugging Face space? A space is one of the services that Hugging Face provide. It basically allows you to run your AI application on a VM. So very simply, you could also deploy it to your own infrastructure. But in that case, for the demo, I picked the Hugging Face space because it's a very easy way to deploy. And I'm doing it from the Dagger pipeline. So here, if I run it again, I expect that nothing changed. And so it should be very fast. So it's very fast because everything was cached already. So it didn't do anything. It just went over all of the steps and made sure that nothing needs to be changed. So now let's make a change. Let's actually make a change. So, and while the change is deploying, I will actually show you another view of those three pipelines. So let's say I'm working on the front end of this app, and I'd like to make a change. I will actually change the theme. So I'm using a library, it's called Gradio, that comes with a set of themes. So I want to actually just to remind you that's the actual theme right now, and I want to change it to something that's a bit lighter, let's say. So I will be using the monochrome theme, and I will run my pipeline again. So in that case, I expect the model test to not run again because there is nothing to do on the model. I didn't change anything on that model. And so, however, I see that the linter actually kicked in because I changed the code of my app. So it's normal to rerun the linter. The linter is actually pretty fast. I see there is a small error here. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but It's probably while installing Flake 8, it's fine. Actually, if something breaks along the way, I can, thanks to the cache, I can rerun it again. It will basically redo the things that were not able to process the first time. So it's actually pretty easy to deal with those problems. I will leave it to retry. And then on the side, I will show you actually the result, probably the last run that completed entirely. So I have more data to show you. Here I see the exact same output that you see from the terminal right before, but here that what I see is a web view that Dagger Cloud provides. So here I can simply see that I have 3 pipelines, like I explained: lint, test, and deploy. I see what's going on the deploy. I see what has been cached. If it was not, so that was the first run actually. So nothing was cached, so everything ran. And I can basically, in case I have an error here, I can click on, for instance, one of the steps, and I will see the output of the command. I can actually also see a DAG view representation of. I'm just taking an excuse to show you a little bit of UI here on Dagger Cloud, but the idea is that the same thing here. I can click on one of the commands that run, and I can see the output here. It actually shows me every single command that this pipeline triggered, and actually I have 3 pipelines. So even though the app is simple, there is still a bunch of things to run while deploying the app. So let's see actually if my app, looks like I had a quick problem. Let me rerun that again on another terminal. And sorry, looks like my terminal is broken. Anyway, I will probably rerun it again without the nice UI, just to make sure it deploys entirely. All right, so it will process. So same thing here, it will basically rerun only the things that failed to run the first time based on some errors I'm not sure about, but it's okay. I run it again, and I can also follow what's going on in Dagger Cloud here. Since I lost the nice UI, now I still have Dagger Cloud actually to save me for that specific one. I also wanted to show you the README. I built a small diagram in the README to show a simplified view of what's going on. So this is it. Basically, I have the 3 pipelines: lint, test, and deploy. And what is interesting in that view is you can see some stuff are run in parallel, some stuff are not. Some steps are not run in parallel, and I don't need to care about that. That's basically what Dagger provides. So that's it. I think as soon as the deploy finishes, I will have another theme basically, but I guess you will just expect this UI to change, and that's it. So it's not extremely interesting to see the result, but I think you get it. You can also take the code of the repo and run it yourself on. You will just need to create to have a token on Hugging Face to use a space, but other than that, you can reuse it yourself. And you can also take those pipelines and adapt them for your own needs. Because again, one of the advantage of using Dagger in the context of an AI app that is using a pre-trained model is really managing the data set. So I think this thing is clearly reusable for your own use in the code from the code of the repo. And that's it for the demo. I will stop sharing my screen. And that's it. Back to you, Miranda. I don't know if there are questions.
Awesome, thank you. There was a question, Solomon answered it already in the Q&A if people are looking there, but just so we have it for the recording as well. What is the purpose of the cache used within this scenario? You touched on it a little bit, but just to clarify in case anyone missed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, it's actually one of the key aspect of Dagger in that context. So AI always comes with data, basically, involves using large data sets. In that case, I'm not using a data set to train a model or anything like that. I'm just using a model for my app. It's what's called inference. The problem is, even if I'm not training the model depends on a large data sets, which are the trained data. And so on one side, Hugging Face built this transformers library that makes it very easy to interact with those models and pull automatically, transparently the data sets. The problem is it's still super heavy. And I don't want that to happen every single time I run a test, especially in my CI environment. And so that's why it's very important to take this cache into account and make sure that the cache from the transformers library that will include all of those gigs of data will go into the Dagger cache. So this is what I showed with this mount cache in the test pipeline that you can also see in the repo.
Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
If anyone has additional questions, this will also be in the demo forum as a demo snippet. So I'll tag Sam there, and we can have you answer additional questions there. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.